Some kids are like puppies. They crave attention. That's how they feel loved and seen. Other kids are more like cats. They come close on their terms, and that's how they feel loved and seen. As a stepmom to two and mom to one, we have a mix of cats and puppies in this house. Literally and figuratively, we also have cats and dogs. So today I'm going to share how to bond with both. It probably goes without saying, but this is a metaphor, and kids, like all humans, have different needs on any given day or season of life. But in my experience, noticing your kids' natural tendency for how they connect can really help you build your relationship with them, especially as a step. Pushing with a cat kid makes it harder for you to earn their trust and can leave you feeling rejected. On the other hand, failing to fill the cup of a puppy kid can create attention-seeking behavior, which is a pattern that's hard to break. Being able to identify their personality and respecting it is a powerful parenting tool. 7 years ago, as a new stepmom, I think I treated both kids like puppies, and one of them is definitely a cat. Once I figured that out, I was like, oh, I can do this. I love cats. I'm a cat person. So I backed off. But I backed off with both of them, and the puppy kid, I think, felt that. Over time, I found the balance, and like any relationship, it's still growing and evolving and always will be. But I think we feel much more secure in our relationships within our blended family now. So today, I want to share tips with you on how to connect with your cat kid and your puppy kid. Let's start with the puppy kid because, let's be honest, they would want us to. And one of the actual cats has come to say, maybe we should start with the cats. What do you think? This is a good opportunity to remind you that your cat kid, like a real cat, may sometimes seek attention from you when you're not expecting it. When that happens, your best chance at connection is to be welcoming and follow their lead. Try not to scare them off by getting too excited. That's Camille. She likes to make an appearance in most of my videos, so if you spot her, comment below. But back to the puppies. Puppies can be easy to spot. They're often the kids saying, look at me, watch me do this. They're asking you to play with them. They're usually pretty vocal about their requests. And unfortunately, because they're doing this a lot of the time, it can be easy to start to do a lot of, okay, in a little bit, yes, we'll do that later. If they're asking for 5 things, you can't do it all at once. So maybe you're making dinner and they want you to watch a show with them, or they want you to play with their Barbies, or they want you to build something. And it's easy to get into this trap of saying later to everything. Later can be a problem because it's vague. You may say later and mean when I'm done with these dishes, and they hear, oh, later, and they go on to something else. And even if you follow through and check back in with them after those dishes, they have perceived that you chose the dishes over them, which of course no one chooses the dishes over anything, but a puppy kid can certainly feel that way. So for this reason, I like to make clear plans with a puppy kid. I like to say at the beginning of the day, let's pick something we're going to do together and then follow through with that thing. Another trap is to try to do too many things. Your puppy kid may be like, let's do these 5 things, and you're like, sure, and then you run out of time, and you feel like, wow, we did 3 of the 5 things, we had a great time, and they're like, oh, we didn't get to all the things. So be realistic, start with one thing, and if you have extra time for more stuff, that's icing on the cake. But at least you know that you have connected with your cat kid that day. I like to mix it up and sometimes have it be their idea, hey, what would you like to do? And then sometimes come up with stuff that I think they would enjoy. I think that also makes them feel special. Cat kids also really love outings and planned outings. So if you come up with something, a couple weeks out, hey, should we plan this thing and look forward to it? I find that that's a really good way to connect with them. It doesn't always have to be big though. I think daily connection is really important. And I remember when I was a newer stepmom, I was reading that 15 minutes a day of child-led play is really valuable as a parent in general. And I thought 15 minutes, that doesn't sound like much. Like I'm sure we're spending more time with them than that. But 15 minutes of completely uninterrupted child-led play is actually sometimes tricky to do. We might not even realize how distractible we can be as adults. Our minds are thinking of all the things we need to get done, and sometimes that can really take away from how connected a kid feels when we're spending time with them. I noticed that as a mom and as a stepmom. I highly recommend doing that as a little experiment for yourself. Just set a timer and put your phone somewhere you can't reach it, And this works with your kids, your stepkids, cat kids, puppy kids, I think any kid. We all like to feel like we're getting the attention of the person who we're spending time with. If we go on a date with our partner, we want to feel like they're looking at us and paying attention to us. And it's the same way with our kids. And because we're sometimes spending a lot of time in the same house or around each other, it can be easy to feel like we spent time when we didn't really connect. Set that timer, start with 10 to 15 minutes. Do not look at your phone. Do not get up to switch the laundry. And you might find it's harder than it seems like it would be to play Legos for 15 minutes straight. Another way you can use a timer is in those moments where they interrupt you and ask you to do something with them when you're in the middle of something else. I've also started doing this a little bit. It's not perfect, but sometimes just saying, oh, you know what? I really do want to do that with you. I need to finish what I'm doing right now, but I'm going to set a timer so that we're both reminded that I was going to do this with you as soon as I'm done. I think many puppy kids, like actual puppies, also thrive on physical touch and eye contact. They tend to be cuddly, they tend to look right at you, and so mirror that back to them. Always want to respect the physical boundaries of your kids, especially your stepkids. But if they like to hold your hand or they like to snuggle near you, be warm with them, be receptive to that. Just mirror what they're giving you, and chances are the puppy kid is probably going to be more physically affectionate. The last tip I'd like to share today about puppy kids is they are very often the kiddos who want to be a helper. They love being given a job to do. And this is actually great because it's a really natural way to integrate your quality time with them and things you may actually need to get done. A puppy kid is probably going to be more willing to help you fold the laundry. They may be up for doing lawn work together. The key word is together. Don't just hand off a job and tell them to go do it, but invite them to do something with you. This way you're connecting with them and you're satisfying their craving for that little head pat. This is something my husband does really well with all our kids, and they always come away with this great feeling of accomplishment. They spent time together, he got something done he wanted to get done, and they feel really important and loved and included. So key takeaways with your puppy kid: you want to make sure you're spending quality time with them every day, you're letting them have some choice in the things you do together, you're also planning some fun things to surprise them and look forward to, and you're including them as much as you can in kind of the day-to-day stuff by giving them jobs to be a helper. Now, there will be some overlap here, and as we move on to the cat kids, I think this idea of giving them a job and letting them be a helper works with cat kids too, but sometimes in a little bit of a different way. A lot of times they will want to observe before they participate. That doesn't mean they don't want to be asked, and it doesn't mean that they're rejecting you or the activity itself. They just sometimes like to observe before they feel comfortable jumping in. In my experience, it's also more important with cat kids that you lean into their interests. So if you're going to invite them to do an activity with you and be a helper, it's ideal if it can be something that you already know they have some interest in. If you have a mix of cats and puppies like I do, it can be tempting to try to turn everything into a, oh, let's all do this together thing. But throw out the invitation, the puppies will probably eagerly jump in, and the cat kid might decline. That is not a rejection of you, and you're not leaving them out by going ahead with the activity without them. You're just respecting their space. I've had a lot more luck connecting with my cat kid by doing activities that are more side by side than face to face. I actually had this idea early in my step parenting because I had read an article years before that talked about how men sometimes do better having conversations side by side than face to face. And there was a theory about the evolutionary reason for that, how women are looking at babies and we're very comfortable with close eye contact, and historically men might be out hunting and they would be side by side, and that confrontational looking right at them could be uncomfortable. I don't know if that's true, but I borrowed it for parenting, and I did find that by doing activities that were seated side by side, things like crafts, things like Legos, puzzles, sometimes conversation would flow easier with the cat kid. So pay attention to your kid or your stepkid's natural tendencies. Are they someone who likes direct eye contact and laser focus on them, or do they tend to avoid that? If they avoid that, please do not push, respect that, and choose something that doesn't require that. Again, there are so many things you can do sitting next to each other side by side, and you might be surprised how much they open up in those situations. When it comes to physical contact, your cat kid may be more standoffish than a puppy kid, and again, it's crucial to respect that. I am a naturally touchy-feely person. I love to hug and snuggle, and I had to really dial that back with the cat kid in our home. But my husband and I actually found this kind of funny early on in being a stepmom. I found that when we would be doing those side-by-side activities, that the cat kid would just kind of lean into me. And it was this sweet little lean where there was some contact, but it was contact that was totally comfortable for them. So go ahead and ask for the high five or the fist bump, but I wouldn't go in for a big hug with a cat kid. Just let them come to you. And if they're not quite as physically affectionate as a puppy kid might be, that is not a rejection of you. It's just how they connect differently. Leaving little notes can also be a great thing to do with cat kids because there's no pressure on them to respond. They do not have to engage. They can just read it and hear whatever it is that you wanted to say to them. So leaving little notes in their lunch boxes is great for a cat kid, or a card in their room if you know they had a rough day or they did something you're really proud of and you want to tell them. I find that a cat kid tends to do better receiving that kind of praise and encouragement in written form versus verbal. My final tip for connecting with your cat kid is to do with acts of service. And that's actually one of the 5 love languages, which I'm considering doing a video on that too. So if you're interested, please comment below. But if you're not familiar with that concept, it's the idea based on a book that we give and receive love in different ways, and that we have different ways of showing and expressing love and affection. And one of the 5 is acts of service. And this one I think is really great with stepkids in general, and especially with cat kids. My husband recently noticed that one of my stepkids was opening up to me more and asked if I had any idea why that might be. And I answered, I think it's about 90% sourdough and 10% cat videos. And the reason for this is I, like many of us, bake sourdough in a bread is yummy way, not a women belong in the kitchen way. And my stepkids love this bread, the cat kid in particular. So I have adjusted my schedule so that I try to have fresh sourdough on the days that they're coming over. And it's a little way that I can make them feel really loved and have something showing them that I'm looking forward to seeing them and I was thinking of them and I wanted that to be ready for them. I'm not saying you need to bake homemade bread to show your stepkids you love them. What I am suggesting is looking for the things you already have in common or things that they already appreciate about you and lean into that. One of the easiest ways to connect is over funny videos or anything that has humor. We all like to laugh, and laughing together can make us feel really connected without putting pressure on anyone. This works with the cat kids and the puppy kids. A few years ago, when I was visiting one of my best friends, we watched this squirrel maze video with her kids, and when I got home, I shared it with our kids, and it is a great one for kids. It's very well known, so you might know it already, but I'll link it below just in case. But that's just a great jumping off point. Look for funny things, look for ways to laugh, and that just makes everybody feel more relaxed and at home. Cats and puppies both like to watch squirrels, so that appeals to everyone. And cats and puppies both like to play. Remember, they seek attention in different ways, but all kids want to be seen and loved and accepted and respected. As step-parents, we have a wonderful opportunity to help create that kind of home environment for them, and our whole blended family will benefit. Just remember, puppy kids thrive on proactive attention, cat kids on respectful invitation. I'm curious if you have a cat or a puppy in your home, so please comment below if any of these resonated with you in particular, and I will see you next time.